Right. Oh, you're gonna. So am I going to?
Check,
I'm
check.
going to. Which? Are we gonna? I'm gonna introduce it as I normally do, and then I'm gonna say. Then you're gonna do the drop.
Do the drum, then his song. Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be
And then you on the
Dave's
back
song.
That's
end of the back
You're
end
gonna
of the
explain
song,
it.
you're gonna explain the
all
song.
right. Sounds good. Got three nice tunes tonight. Things you might not have heard. I try to pick out some of my favorites that maybe DJ Ice's audience may not have heard of. That are they're really nice songs. I think you'll like them. They got some of them got nice grooves. All of them got nice grooves. If you want to know the truth, they're a little bit different.
I may need to hire Judge to help me with my playlist, man, because
Well, I'm telling you,
he's been picking good music,
see,
good music.
I said it wasn't gonna come on unless I could remember three more. If I could pick out three really good songs. I'm already working on my next set. I only got one, so but I'm sure I love listening to music. It's good stuff.
I do too. I just can't. When I was dating Jewel, she used to have. She used to do. She had me download a Keith Urban song.
Okay.
It was nice,
I
but
can't
it was.
hang.
But it was a wedding.
You
It
want
was.
it down?
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Uh,
That's cool right there. But it was like a wedding song.
So you were dating her and she gave you a wedding song.
She said,
sure.
I really like this song, this
So-
Keith Urban song. I met her. I guess I can't say this. I met her in Night Court one night
You on the
with
Oh.
air,
Dave
right?
Brown.
Dave Brown, you and Dave Brown.
Dave Brown.
Can I tell you Dave Brown's story?
God rest his soul.
God rest his soul. I'm gonna tell you Dave Brown's story. Can I tell you Dave Brown's
You
story?
can tell me a Dave Brown story.
Dave's a
Dave
good
Brown.
guy. He was a deputy sheriff, and we were out in Middletown. And there was this woman, this very attractive woman. She was about, I don't know, 25, 28, and she hadn't paid her cost. And the story is she hadn't paid her court cost for I'd given her, 3, 4 chances. And normally you just say that's enough. You got to go to jail. But then I thought to myself, I'm gonna put her in a car with Dave Brown. So I said I wasn't prepared to risk that. So I tried to terrorize her and say, I promise next time you're gonna have to go to jail or pay the money. So because Dave could work a crowd.
Yeah, my eyes are just as bad as my concussion client earlier. So it's 12 people in that room. That means it's probably 100 watching at least, if not more. Um, how many years have you been on the bench again, Judge?
This is my 20th year.
20th years.
How can you see all that? Now y'all need to call your friends or something. We gotta get us a crowd here.
I'm sharing right now, so
All right.
it's great. It's great to boost.
All right.
I try to put some stuff on Twitter and Instagram. That's all I do. I'm going to get a Facebook page. I have one, but I don't have it set up, and I'm not, responding to requests and so forth. But it's strictly up.
Yeah, me too. I got a Twitter and I haven't been on Instagram in like six months.
And that stuff's kind of easier for me.
I think it's a way you can link them all though.
Yeah. And that's what they're telling me. And they're telling me I got to get a Facebook. And I got one, but I got to get it set up. I got to get some decent photos, as best you can, with me.
Yeah,
So-
they say Facebook is for the old people. That's what.
Really?
Yeah,
is that what they're saying
I like
now?
Facebook. That's what I. Yeah,
What are
that's
young
what I-
people doing? Snapchat?
Snapchat and Instagram. The young people. That's their main social media.
All right, we're about 30 seconds away before we get started with Conscious Fever tonight. Thank you guys for joining us on Facebook Live. Backed by popular demand is the Honorable Judge Sean Delahanty, judge here of Jefferson District Court for 20 years. We are about to get started because I heard the church bells ringing. But do us a favor. If you want to talk to the judge tonight, and you're watching live on Facebook, or if you're listening on 97thebetfm.com on the TuneIn app radio, or if you're listening on the Apple TV, you can call in 502-384-6483. You can call in live. Or, let's see, what else was I going to say? I'm glad we hadn't started yet because...
And text you a message or Facebook you a
Oh,
message or any of that kind of stuff?
well, what they're gonna do is they're gonna try to be added as a video, and I'm too far away. I can tell you guys I'm too far away, and I can't read your. It says Judge is going to be
I can't.
taking selfies on the bench. That's Scott Johnson. Oh, he's in North Carolina. Okay, Scott, I hear you. You got jokes. He's the one that called in and on the Valentine's show,
Mhm.
and during the Valentine's show. He said he had been with his girlfriend for 11 years. I said, well, when are you going to get married? He said, well, we haven't talked about that yet. Da, da, da,
Really?
da."
Come
And
on,
I
Scott.
said,
That's just,
and so I said, I got a song for you. So I played Wilson Pickett's version of "You Keep Me Hanging On."
all right.
So
And he's coming back. So I guess she broke up with you, Scott. I'm sorry for your loss. You had a chance, but then,
He said, oh no, she's not listening tonight. I said, well, that's a good thing. But anyway, do us a favor if you're listening on Facebook Live, please share this broadcast. Share, 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 share. Share the love. There you go.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you for the like.
Nelson, Judge, give Big DJ Big Deuce a shout out, please.
Well, I got to tell you, DJ Ice got a really nice setup here. He's got several shows coming up that Carl's going to talk about, and it really is a very nice. Listening to music here is like about the best you can get.
Okay, so DJ Ice, whenever you're ready, I'm ready.
All right, let's go.
Welcome to Conscious Fever with Carl Price on 97thebeatfm.com.
Good evening. This is Carl Price. This is Conscious Fever here on 97thebeatfm.com, and backed by popular demand, I am here with my guest. I don't know if I should call you my co-host tonight, Judge Sean Delahanty of the Jefferson District Court here in Louisville, Kentucky. Sean is here. I'm sorry, Judge. The judge is here to talk about.
For quite a while.
Yeah, we've
now.
been friends for quite a while. But you remember that TV show "Here Comes the Judge" years ago? Yeah. So here comes the judge tonight.
Pig meat Markham.
That's right. Backed by popular demand, the Honorable Judge Sean Delahanty, Jefferson District Court, 20 years on the Jefferson District Court bench. This is Conscious Fever. I'm Carl Price. It's 97thebeatfm.com. I'm here also with co-host DJ Ice. DJ Ice, are you ready for the show tonight?
Yes, it's going to be a good one.
All right. So we've got 3 topics, and we're going to tell you about those topics on the other side of this. Well, actually, I'm going to tell you the titles. We're going to talk about
Bonds, bail bonds.
Yeah, thank you, Judge. We're going to talk about, I got to get my cheat notes here. We're going to talk about bail bonds. We're going to talk about jail overcrowdingness and or jail overcrowding and racial disparity in incarceration. This is Conscious Fever. I'm Carl Price, 97thebeatfm.com. DJ Ice, let's go.
Start it up.
Welcome back to Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price on 97thebeatfm.com.
Welcome back here to Conscious Fever. This is Carl Price. I'm your host here of Conscious Fever. Backed by popular demand is the Honorable Judge Sean Delahanty of the Jefferson District Court. We've got some hot topics to talk about tonight. You just heard from the Moonflower album, Judge, Dance, Sister Dance by Santana. I like that.
It's a very nice song, Carl, and I try to, bring some good songs, and I told DJ Ice I'm going to try to get some songs that his audience may have not heard. And there's a couple of things about Carlos Santana. And again, two things with this particular song. When I first heard it way back when, the singer is a guy that I thought was going to have a big future, and I'm really not sure what happened to the guy, but I just really loved his voice. Now, Carlos, what I learned from Carlos was I heard an interview from him, and he said to be an artist on a musical instrument, that a listener should be able to identify the person within the first six notes. So you play the first six notes, and you ought to be able to identify the player. And I'm telling you, and Carlos, you can identify Carlos Santana on guitar within those first six notes. Now, the other thing that's semi-fascinating, while I was trying to make sure I got the right version of the song and the best Santana song, I ran across an interview, and it's on YouTube, and you can YouTube it, because he was a very good friend of Miles Davis. And apparently Carl says last week that somehow we got a little bit jammed up trying to play our Miles Davis tune. But if you ever get a chance, look on YouTube, because they were big friends, and it kind of, I was very surprised about it. I don't know why particularly, but you have a Chicano rocker and one of the jazz legends, and apparently, and you need to check it out on YouTube, but Carlos was very supportive of him, because Miles had his cool jazz phase, and then he just stopped playing for a number of years. But according to the interview, Carlos Santana was just saying, Miles, you've got too much to give, and we really like all your fans would like to hear you again. And he sort of got into his new phase of sort of almost jazz fusion, or a little bit more rock with electronic instruments, guitars, and so forth. And anyway, so it was kind of interesting.
Wow. Well, Carlos Santana. Well, that was really, really good stuff. I think that we are going to make Judge Delahanty, DJ Ice, put him on the DJ staff here at 97 The Beat FM.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm working on recruiting him as probably a program director.
Well, you might give me a little tiny slice, sometime, but I couldn't do this. I got a few good songs I love to listen to.
Well, welcome to the show, everybody. Once again, this is Conscious Fever. I'm Carl Price, 97thebeatfm.com. To all my Facebook Live listeners, thank you for joining us. This is the live broadcast tonight, backed by popular demand, is Judge Sean Delahanty. 20 years on the bench here in Jefferson County, here in Louisville, judge of the Jefferson District Court. And again, for all of those who are joining us from around the nation, thank you for joining us. I've seen quite a few people from Chicago, from North Carolina, from Atlanta, from Florida. Thank you so much for joining us. But Judge, we're going to jump right into the topics that we promoted this show about. And again, two things. If you want to call in and talk to the judge, you can perfectly do that. Our number here at the station is 502-384-6483. That's 502 384-6483. You can talk live to Judge Sean Delahanty. Ask him anything, and who knows what he'll say. That's what he used to always tell me anyway.
Well,
So, but but we're gonna jump right into our top. Oh, and the other thing is share. Please share, 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 share. Share this broadcast to all of your friends on Facebook. So, Your Honor, let's talk about these topics. We got 3 topics tonight, and a short span of time. So, I want to talk. I want you to talk to us about bail bonds. What is the real story behind bail bonds? What is it about bail bonds that is more the perception than it is the reality?
well, all of our topics are intertwined, and bail bonds. You need to understand that a person who's arrested is guaranteed an opportunity to have bail, except for capital offenses. And again, we need to understand that we do live in America, and so when you begin with bail bonds, you have to start with the presumption of innocence. So the defendant, despite has been arrested, the police have a belief that he committed a crime, but he is presumed to be innocent until the time, actually, that he's either pleads guilty or is found guilty at a trial. So that concept, I'm not sure the public truly understands. And again, it may be that they have, a particular confidence in the police. I'm sure the police believe that if they arrested them, that there was good cause and that they're probably guilty. But probably guilty is not the same as doesn't overcome the presumption of innocence. And then, for courts, judges, the responsibility is to set a bail bond that will ensure that the defendant returns to court and that the public is protected. And of course, the protection of the public is, the number one issue. We need to have space in the jail for people who are dangerous, for people who are a threat to the safety of the community. And at the same time, we're running with this finite jail space, and oftentimes we're holding people in jail that we're mad at more than we're afraid of, that they're not, so people that just are not in compliance or just having difficulty making it through the world today. And so we hold them in jail, and it's an expensive proposition, and it interferes with us, really, the protecting the community, having space to protect the community.
Right now, let's just put this backdrop there, because we as lawyers and judges, we can talk about bail, but the backdrop of bail is the whole theory behind bail is an individual who is charged with a crime. Bail is basically the proposition that they should have an opportunity behind the concept of the presumption of innocence to retain their freedom.
Correct. And you can defend yourself better if you're out of jail. If you have 2 people that are charged with the identical crime and they have similar criminal histories and so forth, but one has money and one doesn't have money, the person who is able to post a bond, which is bail bonds, there's a bail, and the bond is posting the amount that's set by bail, and that person gets out of jail, that person's opportunity to defend themselves is just vastly greater than someone who's in jail. And they talk about, one of the concepts is, if you hold somebody in jail, they're prepared to give up, to not press their constitutional rights to a trial, because the number one thing that they're concerned about is getting out of jail. Yes, you let me out of jail and I'll plead guilty to some offense, even though, I think it was unfair that I got arrested or whatever. So there's that fundamental unfairness. And then again, you get into the disparity part. People without means are more likely to remain in jail than people with means. So it's something that really the nation is struggling with, and there are a lot of innovative things that are taking place throughout the country to try to remove the disparity between rich and poor.
So let me ask you this, Judge. So I come as a criminal defendant before a judicial officer. With what you've just indicated, what is a judicial officer looking for in me and in my background to determine whether I am a good candidate for bail?
All right. So in Kentucky, we have something that's a science. It's not exactly a hard science, but a judge will get what's called a pretrial report. and there's a group, an agency that has a responsibility to investigate to some degree about the person's background. So of course we have the citation that the police prepared, we have the criminal record, we have information about the defendant. Does the defendant have a job? Is he married? Who does he live with? Does he have children? And so you try to, and the basis there is to try to figure out the ties to the community, because the ties to the community, if the defendant has ties to the community, he's not going to run away to Puerto Rico or somewhere else, South Carolina. If he's got a job, he's got a family, he's less likely to run. Then you get into the pretrial has a methodology where they can sort of have predictors as to the likelihood of the person to fail to appear, and also the likelihood, the probability that the person would reoffend. And they have the third factor, which is there an elevated risk for violence? And this thing has been studied, and it's not a hard science, and it deals with probabilities, but it's something that we use. And for me, I've accepted the responsibility to be the arraignment court judge, and it's important for me to look a guy in the eye or a woman in the eye and say, okay, now this is what I'm expecting of you. Or do you understand what your obligations are? And I may take a risk to let you out of jail, but you have to do some certain things, or you cannot do certain things.
So, just this quick background. So, I was a criminal justice major in college, and when we studied criminal justice, the criminal justice students were taught two theories in the criminal justice system. One was a punitive theory, and one was a rehabilitation theory. So those two models, and the American system of justice has always followed the rehabilitative theory in the criminal justice system. So I guess my question to you: do you believe that the judiciary has moved far away from following the rehabilitative model when it comes to bail bonds, or when it comes to just administering justice, particularly prior to any determination of guilt?
Well, and to deal with it, part of it is bond is not punishment. And if you talk about it's punitive, so a person commits a crime, therefore they should be punished. Well, of course they should, if in fact they are found guilty. But bond, the decision whether to hold them in jail prior to their trial, is not appropriate. But I think the trend really is to go to rehabilitation. And we talked about this the last time, particularly with these possession of drugs and the opiate epidemic. And I tell people that we are judges, to some degree, are really life coaches for people who have a difficult time just making it through the day. I mean, we've got you need to understand the clientele, as they say. And I've got some information. I actually have some statistics, and they're very interesting, and I'm going to try to go through them and not dwell on them. But the point is, they say this is data-driven justice, and David Nicholson gave me this, and it says that 44% of the people in jail have been diagnosed with a mental illness. So oftentimes their crime is being mentally ill in public, or it's a factor in their behavior. It also says that 63% of the people in jail have some kind of a substance abuse order, whether it's alcohol or drugs. And again, we're dealing with people oftentimes on the lower economic scale, and they don't have a lot of joy in their life, and perhaps they seek a moment of happiness in alcohol or other drugs.
Do you believe, Judge Delahanty, that, and I can only talk about the Jefferson District Court system, but do you believe the justice system, particularly the judiciary, is prepared to deal with the mentally ill defendant on a regular basis? I mean, obviously these people are a huge population of the jail.
Well, and they're the most difficult to deal with, and they use a lot of resources. To the expense of holding a mentally ill man in jail or woman is enormous. It's like $3 or $4 or more $100 a day, and the jail's not really fit for that. And there's a story to that. Now, we used to have mental institutions where the chronically mentally ill would be in a mental hospital. And back in the Reagan era, they decided that was not appropriate. They wanted to mainstream the chronically mentally ill, and a lot of it was for the abuses that occurred in these mental institutions. And some of these people were just treated just terribly. So there was some good to the thought that let's mainstream the folks. But if you mainstream them, then what happens is the entry point for treatment for mental illness often starts with the jail. Now, and we have crisis intervention teams on the police department, and the police department knows the chronically mentally ill, but the chronically mentally ill, and some are frankly just impossible to deal with because we can evaluate them. The lawyers will say, or the judge on his own motion can say, this person's obviously mentally ill. We need to get this person evaluated. But through experience, if you evaluate them over time and time again, you realize that they have probably reached their baseline, highest functioning level, but it still does not render them competent to stand trial. So you can't convict them of a crime, but you hold them in jail for 60, 90 days waiting for this evaluation, and it's difficult. We don't have a good solution as a society for the chronically mentally ill.
Interesting. Well, we're gonna take another break here, and I know we've got some more music to play. But before we take that break, I want to remind you all: if you're watching us on Facebook Live, please share the broadcast. And if you wish, or if you're watching us on any one of the mediums, feel free to give us a call here at 502-384-6483. We've got two more topics to talk about: jail overcrowding and racial disparity in incarceration, just in general. And Judge Delahanty is going to share with us some information about those topics. But I want to remind you, Judge, I've got two T-shirts here before we go to the break. And one, I'm going to toot my horn because this T-shirt is a Conscious Fever T-shirt.
It's very nice.
And it is very nice, and it's got my picture.
Well, you don't have DJ Ice on the
I'm prettier, but I let him be.
But so if you want your Conscious Fever T-shirt, you're welcome to get it. We'll give it to you free of charge. Just call in, tell us you want it, and we'll mail it to you. Well, that's yours.
Awesome.
Now, but we also have another T-shirt here that I thought was very interesting, and I this is the shirt that I want because this is the shirt. It says "We the People." It just simply has "We the People," "We the People" in the same font as the United States Constitution. "We the People," and then on the back of it, it has the land of the free and the home of the brave. Really nice black T-shirt, and the judge was nice enough to bring that and share that with us. And who makes these shirts?
My brother Tim is a printer, and he makes the shirts. And I just think that it's time, and we need this. We the people. We need to get ourselves organized, and we need to take back our country from some of the people who are in charge today, and that's on a state and local level. And it begins with the
I'm going to say it's on the national level, too.
National, I'm with you.
International.
The international level.
We global.
So, and the Conscious Fever T-shirt, I'm going to give a shout out to Fruitsy's Drive-Through Custom Tees. He's located at 2739 South Garland, actually Garland Avenue, here on the corner of 28th and Garland Streets in the West End. Open Tuesday through Friday from 2 p.m. until 7 p.m. Customized T-shirts. Anything you want on the T-shirts.
He's got hoodies.
He's got hoodies, suits, short sleeve tees, long sleeve tees, sweatshirts, and we want to say thank you. Well, you should say thank you, Fruits, for giving us the Conscious Fever T-shirt. And then one other thing I want to remind you about before we go to the break is the KFC Yum Center on April 27th, 2018. Pro Boxing is back in Louisville. And 97thebeatfm.com is going to have press passes there. I may be there doing the live Conscious Fever show. Come and see us.
For the fight game, Carl.
Right. Well, I am a little bit old for the fight game.
It's pretty trim now.
But I had those two guys on here, Travis the Truth Burgos and Carlos RTG Dixon. Really, really fine young men, smart young men. I can't wait until they come back. But this is Conscious Fever, 97thebeatfm.com. And as always, we ask the guest that comes on the show to share 3 tunes with us. And, Your Honor, I'm going to have you to set this next tune up.
All right, here's a good one. This is Dr. John. This is a New Orleans legend. And he writes some excellent songs, and the beat is fabulous. And I think you need what do they call it? Sample some of these. There, DJ Ice. With the next tune,
Okay.
and he's got a bunch of songs that are just excellent. He's an excellent songwriter, and you may not have heard of him before, but I bet you'll be tapping your feet.
So it's 97thebeatfm.com. Conscious Fever. I'm Carl Price. We'll be right back after this.
You are listening to Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price on 97thebeatfm.com.
Officer now working with the Transit Authority of River City. Hey, Walter Baker, how you doing, sir? Oh, it's going. How are you doing? Everybody's doing well. How are you doing? You still looking good, man. Absolutely, absolutely. We miss you on the police force, man.
Gotta move on. Other opportunities in life. Yeah, I'm doing good. Good to see you.
Well, thanks for joining us here on Conscious Fever, Mr. Baker. How's the family? Did you just get married?
Oh, snap. I don't
No.
know.
Okay.
You're a little selfish, I think.
I'm gonna work on that for you, Walt. I got somebody for you. I'm gonna work on that. Okay, are we going back?
Welcome to Conscious Fever with Carl Price on 97thebeatfm.com.
All right, we're back here on. What'd you say, Walter? I've been doing the show. I've been doing the show since January 1st, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, January 2018.
3 months.
Yeah, 3 months. Yeah, thank you. Now you're gonna stay with us because you're in the audience. If you're in the audience, we may talk to you.
If this will work, if I could try to.
But in any case, we're back. This is Conscious Fever. I'm Carl Price here on 97thebeatfm.com. Walter Baker, say something.
Having a bad connection there.
No, there we go. How about that? Can you hear yourself? Well, you might have a bad connection because we can hear you loud and
I
clear.
can hear you
It
better.
might be.
Yeah. You got any questions for the judge tonight, Walter?
You know what, man? You caught me off guard. I didn't even know the topic. I just seen you going live, and I popped on there, and I was like, let me see what Carl talking about. And then you put me on Front Street.
Well, you know
We're
what?
glad to
You
have
came up as a request to be added on through video. So that's what we did. We added you on through the video. So now you're part of the show. So when
Walter-
this goes live, Walter Baker's going to be one of the guests on the show. How about that?
And see, Walter, us old guys should not fool with Facebook. That's the story I'm telling you.
You only as old as you feel, Judge.
Well, you know, been a
You
long
only-
day.
I know that's
All
right.
right.
Well, anyway, we're going to get back to talking to Judge Sean Delahanty, 20 years on the Jefferson District Court bench here in Louisville, Kentucky. That song we just heard, that was some boogie.
I know. And
Now, you were just out of college when that song.
Yeah, and he's still around, and he still plays, and he's a soulful dude. I'm telling you, and he's got a lot of really nice songs, and I'm sure you might have heard him back in the day.
And I think you're kind of a soulful dude too, Judge, because
Someday.
this is the second time, and you're back by popular demand this time. But the first time we had you on the show, you left us some tunes. We talked to some Rolling Stones,
Right.
And I think
Chris Whitman.
DJ Ice, you may have played Sympathy of the Devil, right?
That's
Yeah,
Carl's
yeah.
theme
Also,
song.
look, I'm
This-
gonna see. He said that we need to possibly sample some of these tunes. I'm gonna see if you think this is pretty close to what we just heard.
Come again! Steady be like this. I'm serious, as serious to get, especially when the mic's involved. I won't sweat. I came here tonight.
Hold on.
What do you
hold
think
on.
about that, Walter?
Hold on.
Make your
Walter,
groove
that's
when
over
the words
there.
recite.
I was listening to BDP when suddenly
Now, here's Dr.
Believe it or not,
That's right.
this is a remix.
That's
A
old school.
remix.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah,
DJ's
see,
on it. He knows it. He's
see,
got
I'm
the
with
ear.
you, man. That's. I'm telling you, we're gonna come up with a playlist.
Okay, I'm with you.
Absolutely. Well, Judge, we're talking about the justice system, and again, thanks for joining us for this second time. Of course, I give you a special thanks because you're back by popular demand. We had such a successful show last month. I think it was last month, right, in February, that they wanted you back. So let's talk about jail overcrowding.
All right. Now, this is an interesting thing and a difficult thing for the community, and I'm going to try to give you the short version. So the Jefferson County Jail, which is a renovated building, part of it is from an old MSD building, and then we have some space over the Hall of Justice, 2 floors. The capacity is 1,793, so it's about 1,800 people. Now, the director of corrections says that he can kind of cope with a 5% increase, which gets you to 1,900 people in the jail every day. Now, what happens is, if the population gets above 2,050 for 3 days, the director has to open up the space over police headquarters. Now, the space over police headquarters has been
Yeah, that's not good.
well, it doesn't have fire suppression equipment. It's got every key has to be unlocked and by hand. They got no video. It's a disaster waiting to happen. And they told him you can't put people there. But what happens is the corrections. If the police say, "Here, I've got somebody for you," he's got to take them in, and then he can't release them until a judge tells them there's a release for them, whether it's a district court judge or a circuit court judge. Now, we have been running in the jail population at as high as 2,400 people.
Wow.
And it's a dangerous thing. It's dangerous for the prisoners. It's dangerous for the guards. And it's just, it's a disaster waiting to happen. So picture, if you would, Carl, if somehow, there's a electrical fire in the space over police headquarters. So it's nobody's fault, but there's a fire. They don't have fire suppression equipment. They got to go by and manually unlock one of those doors. They don't have the video to see the smoke coming out, and there's a tragedy. The expense would be enormous. I mean,
And somebody gets killed,
And somebody dies.
then the city gets sued.
and rightfully so, because they told
And
you
as
not to-
taxpayers, we all pay the bill.
Okay. Now here's the other thing. So to open up the space, to run the space over police headquarters, cost Jefferson County $350,000 a month,
Wow.
right? That's more than $4 million a year. Now, I've been on this jail policy review committee, and it's got everybody that's supposed to be on it is on it. The mayor's got some people, the county attorney, the Commonwealth attorney, the public defenders, everybody, the circuit court clerk, everybody's there. And for 5 years, they've been discussing how can we cope with this. And there's been some legislation that's tried to help with, incarcerating people for, controlled substances, minor possessions, and so forth. So anyway, I volunteered to go over to arraignment court because we had an issue where we had three separate judges who were, had the duty to be in this arraignment court is a courtroom inside the jail where people who aren't released overnight are required by law to have a hearing within 24 hours of their arrest. So we have this daily, we have it Monday through Saturday. So I volunteered for it. And the day I volunteered for it, I told them I am going to get a political opponent. And then I got mad when I got one. But I'm over it. But the point here is this. This space over police headquarters had been open for 2 solid years, except for 1 week in 2017. It has been closed since January 10th of this year, and we haven't reopened it. Now, we're getting close to the number that might require us to reopen it, but it's been shut down for 60 days, 2 months. In the 2 months, so there's $700,000. And it's not about money, but it's always about money. And plus, we're running the risk of, some tragedy occurring. And then you think, well, what's the other solution, Carl? The other solution is we build a new jail. Okay, and they've already thought about it. They presented, some, the expense and designs and so forth to county government, and you can build a new jail. And they talk about it. The scaled down model is $165 million. The deluxe model is 375 or something like that. 375. So about as much as it would cost that they spent to build the Omni Hotel. And where do you get the money? The only way to get the money is taxes. Now my other story is, if you got 2,000 people in jail, there's 100 of those people who you could let out of jail without fear of them committing a new crime or not showing up for court. But the trick is, how do you find the 100? And then when you pick the 100, is there one or is there two that's going to get out there and do something ridiculous? And there's a risk to every one of these bail bonds, and all of us judges have the responsibility of setting these bonds, and every one of them is a risk. And there's the part that's really difficult. If a judge sets a bond, the judge really owns that bond. And if a judge lets somebody out and somehow something terrible occurs, it's like, Judge, you couldn't predict the future. So what business do you have being a judge if you can't predict the future? Because it can happen with someone that a judge would not believe was going to harm somebody. Just because people are people and they're unpredictable. But all of us are doing the best we can to deal with this.
So let me play the devil's advocate here. Now you called off some titles that were serving on this committee, and they've been there for 5 years. So all these smart people can't figure this out.
It's a difficult and complex problem, Carl.
Maybe we need to just get some people from the hood. Get 10 people from the hood, and they'll probably figure it out, Judge. I mean, I don't know, but I'm just saying there's a lot of smart people that you named off that's on there before you got on the committee, and they've been on there for 5 years and in the jail, and they don't have a solution. Maybe we need to get them out of office.
I need you to gather those people, Carl, and I'd be happy to present or help you present this to this jail policy review committee if there's a solution. We've had solutions such as we could do it like they do out in Arizona and just build a pen out there and that.
Oh no, that man's crazy.
Yeah,
that man's crazy.
Well, but I mean, people have suggested.
Is that Sheriff Joe?
Sheriff Joe.
Yeah, Sheriff Joe's nuts.
Right,
I mean, he's
or,
nuts. He's nuts. He's nuts.
I don't know, but anyway.
Now I know that when I was in arraignment court, I probably broke some records over there. I didn't really like letting people out of jail.
I know. Well, you had a job.
Yeah, I mean, I had a job, and I didn't like. And one of the reasons I didn't, Judge, was because I know the process. The process is that there is like 3 or 4 levels of reviews, maybe about 2 or 3 levels of reviews before you get to arraignment court.
Correct.
So generally, the individuals who are in arraignment court have been picked over and said, these are the ones that probably need to stay away, except for the ones who just don't come back to court. Those are the ones that get the short end of the stick, because if you have a bad record of returning to court, you get punished. just as bad as the murderer, right?
Right, because I tell some of those people, it's like, look, I cannot get, you won't show up for court. I mean, you got to show up for court. This case is not going to go away, and you ain't hard to find. And they've been sworn on numerous occasions. And it's sort of, the only way I'm going to get you to court is in a jumpsuit. Now, that's a guy we're mad at. That's not a guy that's going to be a danger to the community.
That's going to be a danger to the community.
But we got to handle this case. Now, we are doing some things. We're trying to settle some cases. The county government actually provided some funds for another public defender and another prosecutor that come in every day to the jail, the arraignment court in the jail, and they try to get, resolve these sort of nuisance cases or cases that were people that we just can't get to cooperate more than they're dangerous.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate with you. So you talked about what it costs, and you talked about, really what is the alternative. So here's the devil's advocate here. Are we saying that we're compromising safety because of the cost, or does it come full circle because we're compromising safety because of the fact that if we keep these people in this overflow area above the police department, then it's more dangerous to be over there, and they're likely to suffer serious physical harm anyway from being there. I mean, but I guess my question is, are we compromising safety at the cost of money? And if that is at the fear that it's going to cost too much, and if that is the case, isn't that what we pay taxes for, to be more safe?
And I think you're on it, and that's where it cuts. That's where it cuts. And the point there is, there's a risk to every one of these bonds, and judges, and if the more experienced you are, I think the better you're able to assess these sort of issues. Is a person a threat to the community? Is the person going to come back to court? Are they, particularly if they're elevated risk for violence? And so the safety concern. But if you get to it, if you go to the extreme, the thing would be, if the police arrest them, let's just hold them in jail until they have their trials, and we would all be safe. But the problem is that jail can wreck a person's life. Of course, the person has made a mistake. The police have arrested them for whatever the incident was. But is this person an evil human being, or is this a person who made an error in judgment? So what we do is, and it's a tough thing, and this decision has to be made, in the arraignment court about 75 or 100 different cases a day, and so if you have a person is arrested, was this a momentary lapse in judgment? A person just saw red and did something in anger, or was foolish enough to believe that they could carry something out of a store? And do you hold them in jail for this? Do they have a job? Are you going to deny them an opportunity to earn a living and support if they got a family? So you got a chance to wreck a bunch of lives because someone made a momentary lapse in judgment. Now we've got the whole gambit. I mean, we've got people who will not commit violent crimes, but they're chronic shoplifters. Well, a lot of times that's about drugs, and a lot of times it's just that's a pretty thing that I'd like to have, and they just pick it up. So the point is, how do you stop them from shoplifting? And at some point in time, if they have many shoplifting charges, the decision has to be made in court. If the only way I can keep you from stealing is to put you in jail, you're welcome to the jail. And hopefully, and you do it in increments. It's just like punishing a child. You start with the incremental, what do they call it, graduated sanctions. I want you to stop doing this, and here's some punishment for that. If you continue to do it, the punishment has to get larger. But again, we're trying to cope with a finite amount of jail space.
Interesting. Walter, thank you for joining us. We're going to bring somebody else in, so we're going to ask you on your end to let us take another caller.
All right, brother.
Okay.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Walter.
We're going to bring in. I think Miss Meechin is an attorney. You see that,
right.
DJ Ice Gwen?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, right there.
You got a bug.
There you go. Thank you, Walter. Thanks for calling in. All right, Miss Meechin, if you're there. And I may be butchering your name, but come on, join us here on Conscious Fever here on 97thebeatfm.com. Backed by popular demand is Judge Sean Delahanty, 20 years on the bench here in Jefferson District Court.
I'm kind of squinting because Carl's eyes are better than mine, and he can read the fine print on his iPad that we're.
Well, we're going to ask. Yeah, Gwen, go ahead and look for your button. You are going to be on the air.
Meehan.
Meehan.
Meehan. I know Gwen.
Yeah, I know Gwen too. I don't know, but apparently Gwen doesn't know Facebook very well.
Gwen?
In technology.
Us old people.
All right, Gwen, we're going to pass you by. We've got some others
Facebook.
waiting. But we've got another topic to talk about also, racial disparity, but we also have another break coming up, and we're gonna cut to this next break. And Gwen, if you want to join us, when you join us, we'll be happy to entertain any comments that you may have. So, Judge Sean Delahanty, set us up for this next third tune here.
All right. This is a very interesting guy. This guy's name is Taj Mahal. Now, he is a classically trained tuba player. So I guess if you're in an orchestra, you need a tuba player. And I think his father was a conductor. But he's become sort of a blues man. Now, this song here is a very simple lyrics, but it's a beautiful tune. I'm sending this out to my beautiful wife, Donna. It's one of my favorite love songs of all time. And you may have never heard of it, but you need to listen, and it's a remarkable song. And one day, Carl, I have another one on my bucket list, is that I want to be able to write a song before I die.
You heard it here on Conscious Fever.
And it's gotta be recorded, and I gotta hear it on the radio. So I gotta get started. And I've had this goal for not too long, 5 or 10 years, and I've tried, but I can't sing. So anyway, I got a lot of issues with this.
We can make it happen.
All right,
we can make it happen.
I got friends that have a record label.
So the last time you were here, we heard the song that's going to be played at your funeral, which was a really, really nice song, by the way.
Big Sky Country.
Big Sky Country. So yeah, this is now you heard it here first on Conscious Fever. Judge Sean Delahanty is going to be writing. He's going to write a song.
Gotta write a song.
Yeah, it sounds like Barry Manilow. Remember that? I write the song that makes the whole world
You ain't
sing.
singing on my
Yeah, I'm not
song,
singing on
Carl.
you. I was like, okay, all right. So this is Conscious Fever 97thebeatfm.com. We'll be right back right after this break. Join us, share us, 502-384-6483.
Welcome to Conscious Fever with Carl Price on 97thebeatfm.com.
Baby, now you know I can be the one to be your man. Baby, now you know I do anything in the world for you to have loving from my baby's eye. Oh, loving from my baby's eye. See that loving in my baby's eyes. Loving from my baby's eyes. Look, baby, now you know damn well love you better than another man can tell. Love you, baby, now you know I do anything in the world for you to have a loving from my baby's eyes. See loving in my baby's eyes. See loving in my baby's eyes. Loving from my baby's eyes. Late at night when I take my rest, oh, I hold your pictures to my breast. Love you, baby, now you know I do anything in the world for you to have a loving from my baby's eyes. See loving in my baby's eyes. Have loving from my baby's eyes. Loving from my baby's eyes. Love you, baby. Love you, baby. Mama, now you know I do. Love you, baby. Love you, baby. Do anything for you. Mama, now you know I do anything in the world for you. Take the loving from my baby's eye. Ooh, loving from my baby's eye. You give me that loving in my baby's eye. me that magic in my baby's eyes. Ooh, loving from my baby's eyes. Give me the loving from my baby's eyes. Loving from my baby's eyes.
And we are back with more Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price Esquire on 97thebeatfm.com.
All right, welcome back to Conscious Fever here on 97thebeatfm.com. I'm here with Judge Sean Delahanty of the Jefferson District Court of 20 years and Taj Mahal.
Taj Mahal.
And that was to Donna.
Yes.
Judge Donna.
Judge Donna.
Former Judge Donna.
Retired Judge
The retired Judge
I
Donna.
think she
Loving in my baby's eyes.
And she's, I think she's watching this just to
I think
make
she's
sure I behave
watching.
myself. I'll get to some comments on
Can
my
you
behavior.
add this person there? This is, well, that's great. That's great. That's great. Taj Mahal, I like that. Well, Judge, you have some really good taste in music now. This is really interesting stuff.
Well, I try to, I enjoy listening to music, and I've listened to it for quite a while, so I've got an eclectic taste, I guess. I like a lot of different kinds of music.
Just ask him out, bring somebody else. I mean, well, bring in Bill Patterson.
Bill Patterson.
Bill Patterson, former co-worker of mine at the Jefferson County Attorney's Office. He got away like I got away.
Well, let's see if Bill knows how to do this Facebook stuff.
Yeah, Bill may not. Bill, if you're,
I can't read that.
what does it say? Decline. Oh, he declined. Okay, we add decline. How about Shelley?
You tried that one.
She was the first one. How about Michael Buckner?
Michael Buckner? I haven't seen Buckner in a while. Where you been, Michael?
Oh, there he is.
Michael knows how to do this.
Now he's a computer whiz,
Yeah,
so he should be able to add. Come on, join us, Mr. Buckner. We're inviting you on. If not, we're gonna bring in Carlos Dixon. I don't know what these people are doing.
I don't know. We got to move on.
Yeah, we got to move on. Okay, we're gonna try Carlos Dixon, the boxer, RTG.
This is RTG?
All right, this is RTG. Mr. Dixon, come on, join us here on Conscious Fever. How you doing tonight, sir? There we go.
Watch out.
There we go. Look at him. Look at him. Oh, we're doing well. How are you doing, sir? We're gonna put the audio on you.
We're gonna here, Carlos.
Yeah, we're gonna mic you up, RTG. How you doing, sir?
I think we lose him when we mic him.
Go ahead, Carlos.
You guys doing okay?
Oh, we're doing well. How are you doing?
Sore.
Yeah, I know you are. You look all cut up like you've been working out. You been working out?
Well, of course. You know, the fight day, April 27th.
You got to make the weight.
That's right. Fight day, April 27th, KFC Yum Center here in Louisville. Pro fight. He's one of our pro boxers, Judge.
Who you going to fight, Carlos?
Lightweight, 135, between 135 and 130.
Who's your opponent? You got an opponent yet?
I'm not exactly sure yet, but I know that the promotions and my dad
All right.
Are now.
Okay.
I'll definitely have an opponent as soon as it comes.
You working at the gym over on Breckenridge? Where are you working out?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I drive past that place every day.
Well, Carlos,
Monday through Friday, and then I pick one of the days on the weekend to run or do something.
Well, Mr. Dixon, my RTG, I understand that I got word of who you're going to be boxing on April 27th. You want me to tell you who that are? Who that is?
Come what
No,
may.
I have no idea. Who is it?
It's I think I don't know his first name, but his last name is Loser.
Loser.
Oh, okay. Well, that sounds good.
Yeah, it don't matter who we put in front of him.
I want you to tell your daddy to call me. But anyway, if you want to hang around, we've got some other discussions to talk about. The real juicy stuff is racial disparity and incarceration, Judge Delahanty. I want you to share with the audience your thoughts on racial disparity and incarceration, locally, nationally, regionally, et cetera, et cetera.
Really, I can only speak to what's going on in Jefferson County, and Judge Denise Clayton is heading up a group to try to address the disparate impact on by race and really by income. But she's focusing on race, and she's very interested in there's a national trend, all right, in bail bonds, and it's something that the federal courts already do Washington, D.C. does this, and I'm not sure if it's New Jersey, but I'm not real sure. But I know it's D.C. for certain, and it's all of the federal courts. And what this is a no money bail system. And the concept is this: if you're arrested, you're presumed innocent, and you're going to get out of jail unless you are you have a crime, a very serious crime, which are really murders, robberies, and rapes. And I don't know if there's probably drug issues as well, but they'll have categories of cases where you will automatically be detained. But otherwise, everybody gets out of jail. And if you're detained, you have a right to have a hearing within 48 hours. And in the hearing, it's much more thorough. There'll be these bond hearings will be require the police or the prosecutors to come forward and put on almost like a probable cause hearing. This is the information that we have, and a judge would find, if a judge made a finding that that a felony crime was committed, and that it's likely that the defendant committed the crime, they could just detain them without a money bail. Period. They're just detained.
Interesting.
And what from D.C., what they've determined is that 90% of the people are released, and they come back to court as often as they do if they post a money bail, and 90% of the people do not commit other offenses. And when I researched it a little bit, because there's federal legislation on it, and they said that it's designed to prevent blatant discrimination on bonds. And when I looked at it, I was like, okay, and it said throughout the states. So there's no uniformity. There is every state gets to do what they want. Every judge in every state brings whatever they know about life and people to the table. And so you have to cope with the biases. I mean, every judge, I have biases. Every judge at Carl's got biases. Everybody's got biases. But if you have people with biases that are trying to make decisions about whether somebody should remain in jail or not, and
I got a bias that RTG is going to win his fight, but go ahead.
Okay, he doesn't look like he's been hitting the nose that often, so he must be a defensive fighter. Anyway, but the point is, if you take money out of the equation and you just say, let's focus on, putting people in jail that we want to hold in jail, the dangerous people need to be held in jail, and everybody else is going to get out of jail, you eliminate this thing where you're getting people to come in and forego their right to a trial just so they can get out of jail. And the discrimination, when I thought about it, what's the discrimination? Well, the discrimination is really discriminating against poor people. It's, it's black and white, every shade. But if you're poor, you are going to suffer. You're going to be discriminated because you're going to remain in jail, and probably unnecessarily so. And it's been proven to be efficient and sensible in other jurisdictions. All of the federal system, certainly D.C. But again, Carl, you got to get back to, well, does that jeopardize the safety of the community? If you're just saying, okay, everybody who's not charged with a B felony gets out of jail, are we putting the community at risk? And there are, I think it's been, and again, the federal system doesn't deal with the volume of cases that we deal with. And but the issue always is you're weighing the risks to the community against incarcerating people unnecessarily.
Well, you had shared with us earlier, Judge, the data-driven justice information disrupting the cycle of incarceration. And I noticed that, it talked about a crisis situation, 39% of adults on community-based supervision and 47% of arrested adults visited the emergency room in the past year. Talk to us about the community-based supervision and how that is essential to this project that the system is looking at now.
See, we have a lot of ways to supervise people in the community. And Chris West, you may remember Chris is a basketball player out of U of L.
Wish he was still on the team.
Well, he could help us.
Yeah.
And he's got the day reporting center, and he can hold up to like 75 guys or gals. Women are involved too. And it has a home incarceration and ankle bracelet component. But what they try to do, and they talk about a cognitive therapy. They require them to go to a lot of meetings, and there's like peer groups, and it's almost, and they have a 12-step ladder, somewhat similar to Alcohol Anonymous or whatever, and you have to work your way through these steps, and they're trying to change the way people think. Okay, we have the home incarceration program, which is an ankle bracelet that you can place on someone that you're not completely confident that they're going to behave themselves. And it's a GPS system. You can monitor, the jail has the opportunity to monitor these people live. It's as if they're and I tell them, I say, look, I'm going to put you on HIP. You can only do what HIP tells you can do. You're a blinking dot on the map. And if they give you, a release to go to work, they can track you live. And if you're going to work and all of a sudden you veer off, they know exactly where to go to arrest you. Because you're on, just like a GPS system. They know exactly where you are.
That sounds like a slave, and then you go off you sound like a runaway slave.
Well, but the point there
No.
is, I don't know if it's, this is an alternative to jail. And I really didn't want to go there, Carl, but it's, we do want to, and it's like working on a chain gang, and I don't know if it's, what's the guy's name? Cool Hand Luke, but
Right. Cool
but
Hand
at
Luke.
any rate, so that's a way to monitor folks. And again, it beats incarceration. Are you using jail space? And the cost for HIP, home incarceration, costs the community about like $6 a day, as opposed to $70 a day to hold somebody in jail. And plus, if you're on HIP, you're likely to have releases so you can continue your life, which is, oftentimes. Do you remember the guy that you want? I get. Oh, this is a funny story, Carl. Anyway, you can give them releases to go to work. You can give them for child care, medical releases, treatment releases.
Release to go see my grandma.
Well, they asked for it.
I mean, I've seen a lot of releases in my 25 years as a prosecutor.
And now there was a guy. The case Carl had a problem with a particular young guy, and the guy, I don't know where he is today, and I'm hopeful. I haven't seen him in quite a while, and I can't even remember his name. Carl's a prosecutor, and somehow I put this guy on HIP, and Carl's walking across the street, and he sees the guy in a car with like 4 of his pals. So Carl wants to revoke his HIP, and I think I gave him a hanging with the bros release. Carl, do you remember that?
Right. The grocery release.
But
I got to go get my medicine release, pharmacy release.
well, people have a lot of needs, and believe me,
I got to go tell my baby mama good night release.
Well,
All types of releases.
pay my child support.
Carlos, you think that's funny? It's true, man.
No, it's not, Carlos. Don't believe all that.
Terrible.
I got to go get my hair done release. Now, I have heard those.
I have heard that.
I have heard those. I got to get my hair done. Got to get my
barber
hair
release.
and my nails done release.
I don't know about the nails. I can't remember that. But it's like I got a
You just have
job
to
coming
call-
up, and man, I need to tighten this up.
But 50%, this data-driven justice information also indicated that 15% of the jail population experienced homelessness at some point in the year before going to jail. And I guess that's consistent with your comment that, this system, that poor people are more victimized from the system than any other group of people in our
Well,
society.
they certainly come into contact with the system more often than everybody else. And part of it is, this homelessness, again, there can be several things working together. If a person has a mental illness, or, so if a person has alcohol problems, and you have homeless folks who are, for whatever reason, have no safety net, and they're out on the street and they're panhandling or, trying to find, food or whatever to try to make it through the day. And I guess the other thing is, Carl, we all have to get with this. We are all God's children. Let me tell you, this is a really excellent story. I saw a guy in arraignment court long ago. His name was Teddy. And Teddy was a chronically mentally ill guy. He's constantly getting arrested, and he's there. And I know him well. So he's arrested, and he's there, and he's like, you know me, Judge? He's on the other side of the wall. You know me, Judge? And he's picked up for nothing. It was like he was panhandling at the Mid-City Mall. And he says, you know me, Judge? You know me, Judge? Show me some love, Judge. Show me some love. I said, okay, Teddy, here's the deal. I'm going to let you out of jail today, but you cannot go to the Mid-City Mall. You got to stay.
I think I remember this.
Because Teddy, Teddy would, when he panhandled, he'd be aggressive and be moving his arms like this, and people, thought he was, going to attack him or something because he was just, he appeared to be agitated. Anyway, 3 days later, I'm going to the Mid-City Mall. I may have my short pants on. I may have a hat on. I'm there, and up comes Teddy. Hey, mister, you got $1? And I said, Teddy. And he says, you got $1? I said, Teddy, don't you recognize me? And he goes, hey, Judge, how you doing? I said, Teddy, I told you you had to stay away from the Mid-City Mall. And he's like, Judge, I don't know, Judge. And he said, Judge, I didn't ask to be like this.
Ooh, that's deep.
That was very profound.
Right, right.
And of course, and Teddy says, you got $2, Judge? So I don't know. I gave him some money. But the point is this. These are all God's children. These are all God's children. If you just want to hit everybody with a hammer, I can't help you. And Carl, when we get down to what is it? Is it hitting people with a hammer, or is it trying to convince them to change their lives? And we need the community to get together, and these people. And even if we send somebody off to the penitentiary, they get done with the penitentiary, they're going to come back and live with us.
Right, right.
So somehow, the entire concept is to try to change people's lives and make our community better.
Well, listen, as we wrap up, I'm going to end this show with just a discussion about because you talked about I think you talked about the racial disparity. Had a conversation earlier with a young lady. We were talking about another person who had a conviction and that conviction could not be expunged. And we thought about that individual who had been convicted and realized that that individual who had been convicted was convicted because that individual had an addiction.
Right.
And it was a crack cocaine addiction. So, my crusade is that I believe that there is actually some responsibility on the justice system, and particularly the judiciary. I don't want to make it sound as if I'm picking on the judiciary, to right what I consider to be some of the wrongs now. So you had the crack cocaine epidemic, and we talked about this, Judge. The crack cocaine epidemic back 25 years ago, 30 years ago, and it tore apart families. In fact, this particular person showed up at her mother's funeral intoxicated, not on alcohol, but on drugs. Has a college degree. I think she has a master's degree, was teaching, and she got this conviction. And this is one of those convictions that she can't get off. So again, I make the comparison with what's going on in the Hall of Justice today, and I believe heroin addicts are some of the most dangerous people that I have ever encountered. In fact, there's I'd rather encounter a vicious pit bull in a dark alley and fight and do my best to fight my way out of that dark alley as opposed to a heroin addict, because sometimes they have unfounded strength, right, that you don't know about, even more than the pit bull. So here's my position. Well, I'm not going to talk about my position, but here's my question. What obligation does the judiciary have to right those, what I consider to have been wrong? And the wrong is that there was a perception back then that these people were not addicts, that they were just misbehaved individuals. They were criminals. Today, the
policy has shifted.
The policy has shifted, and the only difference we see is the color of these individuals' skin, at least for the ones who are disproportionately impacted by it. Today,
absolutely,
the white individuals the white population is more disproportionately impacted by the heroin epidemic and the opioid epidemic. Back then, 25, 30 years ago, it was the African-American population, and there was no discussion of addiction, even though the experts had said this is an addiction and we need to treat it as an addiction, but we treated it as a criminal justice problem. So my question to you is, what obligation do you believe that your judiciary today has, the judiciary or the legislator today, to address those wrongs?
Let me get in here for a second, Carl. And I'm with you on this, because even in the era of the crack epidemic, there was a disparity. If you had powder cocaine, which was a white drug, you weren't punished as harshly as if you had crack cocaine. Now, and I think maybe we've become more enlightened over time in trying to understand just addiction. And maybe we've become enlightened more because, as you say, heroin affects everybody, every walk of life, every zip code. But it is, there are more Caucasians involved in the addiction to heroin than there were with crack cocaine. And I think part of it, the other layer is drugs is what drives homicides. Back in the day, crack cocaine, if you were a dope dealer and you controlled the crack cocaine, you could make lots and lots of money, and there were lots of killings over it. Now it's the same thing with opiates. If you're controlling the distribution of opiates, you're making lots and lots of money. Now the change and to try to make amends or try to undo, which was a flawed policy with regard to crack cocaine. There's something that's happening, and it's really been driven by the Chamber of Commerce. And the Chamber of Commerce wants, and I believe it's legislation that says employers ought to have the right to hire convicted felons to work in their job sites. So to try to eliminate the biggest bar, which is the financial, punishment. So you get a felony conviction, your opportunities for employment are limited. So they want legislation in part to say that they don't have the same liability. And I think their fear is if they hire a convicted felon and that person does something, I don't know, gets in a fight or steals something, or I don't even know what, does something, that then the company would be liable because they knew they hired a person from a background of a felony conviction. So they are actually pushing to have a law that buffers that eliminates some of their liability. So it makes it easier for them to hire those people who have been convicted of a felony. And again, you get back to why is this bad policy? Well, you denied all of these individuals economic opportunities by convicting them of felonies, and that's a denial for the rest of their economic life, their ability to earn, to work throughout. And you deny now the employers say, this mess that we created back then is preventing me from hiring what would otherwise be, decent employees. So that's part of the solution. I don't know that we'll ever get to an expungement, but I think that part of it is we need to address the time element of expungement. So a crime was committed on this date. Now we have it. You can't have a felony, a conviction 5 years prior. I think it's just 5 years after. I don't even think they have the prior anymore.
No, I think that the bottom line is that you just cannot have a misdemeanor felony conviction 5 years from the date that you applied for anything to be expunged.
But either before or after?
Right. No, before or after is gone.
So they haven't changed that. Okay, but the possible solution would be, and again, it has to be legislative, where you just say, okay, this person committed a crime on this date, and I'd say the best way to do it would say there's a felony crime on this date, and then you say, and you have maybe extend it out to 10 years, right? And then you say we're not going to deal with misdemeanor crimes. If this person has been relatively crime-free, hadn't been convicted of any kind of a felony crime, and has minimal contact with the court system, then that felony crime becomes eligible. So you could have misdemeanors in there. It used to be in Jefferson County that the county attorney would resist expunging cases if somebody had a speeding ticket.
Right.
What the hell?
Right.
So we overpowered that. The judges, I think, worked through that and just said, do what you want. We're going to sign all these expungements, and you're going to have to appeal them, and go ahead and appeal them. And then, and the point is, why are you doing this? How does this help you in any regard? So I think, and that credit goes to Jefferson District Court, because we just said, appeal this, take this to the next level.
Take it to the next level. Well,
and suffer the political consequences.
Well, I think it's really interesting that that option is driven by the Chamber of Commerce. Yes. Because they need more people in the workforce. But I think more morally, I'm stuck on the fact of I think these people
were treated unjustly.
And the problem, Judge, is that an addict just doesn't only impact an addict. An addict impacts a whole volume of people. The parents who have to sleep at night with one eye open and one eye closed. The retail establishment who
the neighbors.
The neighbors.
Any person the person knows.
And so I think that there is a way to carve out some type of expungement legislation that says that maybe for those individuals, particularly for those individuals who we now know from all of the
Who were
literature and all of the
punished
professional,
too
like,
severely.
that they were addicts, and they were not treated like addicts. They were treated like criminals instead. Where we're not treating these individuals like criminals today, we're treating them like addicts,
Right.
and we're driving them right into treatment. So, I think that there ought to be some option, at least in the expungement law, and hopefully the legislature and Bevan is listening to this, that maybe there is an exception there, that if there has been an extended period of time that they have not had contact with the criminal justice system, because that's the perception of a lot of
and
people.
been drug free.
Right, and been drug free. Because I would tell you, a lot of individuals who seek expungement, they just assume that after 20 years go by, that they're entitled to it, and they should be entitled to
Well,
it.
they're not the same person that they were 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
And and again, they will say, I paid my price, I did my time, I didn't like it, and I thought it was treated unfairly, but I did my time, I wasn't a problem in the prison, and I've come out here and I'm trying to do the best I can, and I'm limited as to what sort of economically I can achieve by this past transgression that I've grown out of. And I think you're right, Carl, and I think, and have we evolved where we're now saying, okay, let's acknowledge that it is an addiction, and they talk about the addiction really is, it should be treated as a mental disease. And
Right,
some
right.
people's brains are just geared and prone to addiction, and so they run into whatever they run into, whether it's cocaine or heroin or alcohol, and it just turns the key lock in their brain, and it's like, this is what I need and what I want and what I can enjoy. So the point is, it wasn't, as you say, it wasn't treated as a disease during the crack epidemic. It is being treated as a disease with the opiate epidemic, and I think and that brings in alcohol as well, because I think more people have been touched by the addicted folks in the world, and they're now getting a greater understanding. It's not a character flaw, and it may have some really a mental function. It just, people are prone to addictions.
Well, you remember, and I'm not going to say his full name, but you remember our friend Scott.
Yes.
Yeah, he was. I used to see Scott in court every day defending individuals, and
He was a good lawyer.
he was a good lawyer.
And
He just fell,
A good guy.
got addicted, and just fell. Had resources, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, we are out of time, and Carlos, who said hi?
See you, baby.
Hi, how are you?
Say hi, Million.
Hello.
How old is she now, Carlos?
She'll be 2 June 28th.
She's a
Oh
doll.
man, she is beautiful. She is beautiful.
Thank you.
She looks so much
that's
like
what I-
Learius. So much like Learius.
Uh-oh.
Hey, listen, Carlos, give us your plug, man.
She's one.
What's that? She said
She's
one.
one. That's what she's trying to tell you. That
Oh, she's one. Man, she
Coming up
is
on
beautiful. She's beautiful. Well, listen, Carlos, RTG, you want to share anything with us before we log off for the night in terms of the fight? You're going to be one of our prize fighters. Hey.
Tickets are on sale now, Ticketmaster and at the box office at the KFC Yum Center. Come out and support. If you guys want to see great, outstanding boxing, please come out. And it's going to be a great night. Sorry, obviously my hands is full, but I appreciate everybody. I love all the love and support. Thank Argy Financial, Joe Reeves, my coach, Top Notch Boxing, everything. I appreciate everyone.
Man, you sound like you just won a Grammy Award.
Man, I gotta make my rounds.
You got your
Okay,
chance.
okay, great. Well, listen, RTG, thanks for joining in, and we will be at the fight on April 27th at the KFC Yum Center. If you don't have your ticket yet, get your ticket from Ticketmaster or at the KFC Yum Center box office. April 27th at KFC Yum Center. That's right. At the KFC Yum Center. Come see these two young pro boxers continue the legacy of the great Muhammad Ali. So, RTG, thanks for calling in. And Judge, once again, thank you for coming back by Popular Demand here on 97thebeatfm.com and Conscious Fever. And thank you for the music again.
Well, if I find 3 more songs, I'll let you know, Carl.
Well, if you find 3 more songs, come on back. But I will tell you, all of you all that are listening, that are local, let me just tell you, this is one of the best judges in Jefferson District Court.
I appreciate that.
And there's a date in May. I think the date is May 22nd, and I know some people are going to get upset with me, and I don't care. But the Constitution gives me a right to exercise my right to vote, and I'm going to exercise my right to vote for this man. Because you've been fair. Even when I was a prosecutor, and we were bumping heads. We were bumping heads because I was to the extreme and you were on the opposite side of that extreme.
We were both young back then, Carl.
Young, dumb, and broke.
Well,
I don't know if I may have been broke. What'd you say, Carlos?
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, thank you for having us. Yeah. Good night, man. Take care of that beautiful girl.
All right.
All right.
Good.
All right, good night. But in any case, this has been 97thebeatfm.com. I'm Carl Price. It's Conscious Fever. Judge Sean Delahanty, Jefferson District Court of 20 years. Thank you for joining us again.
Glad to be with you.
Next week, we're going to be joined by Will Nemox, who is a fitness guru. He's going to join us here in the studio, so look for the promos for that. Next week, 9 to 10 p.m. here on 97thebeatfm.com. I'm Carl Price, Judge Delahanty. This is DJ Ice. And thank you for joining us. Good night, everybody. DJ Ice, take us away. Thank you, sir.
Oh, I'm qualified.